Give
My
it just a
computer's
second.
giving a bit of trouble. So.
Okay, let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another wallet Bitcoin design improvement or wallet improvement call. This is the third or fourth and the final, hopefully, call in which we'll figure out how to improve Blixt wallet onboarding experience. In the previous 2 or 3 calls, which you can always rewatch on our YouTube, we did a little bit of brainstorming and we came up with a solution. And in this call, we finally have baked-in prototypes to test, and we have people who created these prototypes that will be presented on today's call. And yeah, we can start rocking, I guess. I will give a word to John in a beautiful T-shirt that he's wearing to give us a kickstart.
All right, yeah, thanks, Pav. All right, so just to help you understand the structure for today, what we'll do is we will go over the storyboard, because we had this whole design sprint session, right? We had all these workshops, getting alignment with Hampus, and we came up with these sprint questions. And then from there, we ended up with like a bunch of sketches and finally a storyboard. And the storyboard is kind of like our wireframe. From there, all of us went into our own corners, and or some of us went into our own corners and started working on some more high fidelity prototypes, interpretations of what that storyboard is. So today, once I get my computer working, we will go over the storyboard and the sprint questions, and then everyone who has done some of their own high fidelity prototypes, we will get you guys to present it, right? After all prototypes have been presented, we're going to perhaps do some voting on like certain areas in which we think we need to like which are like really good solutions, and we will merge them into one prototype ideally. Hopefully we get through all of these things today. Pav, is it possible that you could share your screen for the Fig Jamboard, please? Because I am struggling still.
Yeah, I'm on a very old Mac here, which is crashing, but let me give it a try. Just give me a second. Is that the one that is empty, or do you want me to share prototypes right away? Because I assume people will be showcasing their screens anyway when they're showcasing stuff. So
yeah. Just to like set the tone of like since it's been a while, just to set the tone, I think it'll be good to just review the board again.
Okay, I think I found it finally, and let me try to share without crashing my PC.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry guys, this is always fun when trying to figure tech stuff out, but yeah. Okay, it should work now.
Recording.
I can share it if that's helpful.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep,
perfect.
we can hear you.
Pav, yeah, I'm super sorry about this. I got the computer to work again, so I could start sharing it. And it crashed. Okay. All right, so let's get into it. I am going to share here. All right, so just an overview of the design sprint. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys, I just did this to get rid of Pav, right? So I knew his computer was going to crash. Okay, we could go now. All right, so you remember we did the how might we exercise. We did some stuff about project definition, core functionalities. the different types of users that we ended up with, our long-term goals, sprint question, and in the end, we we ended up with the persona of people who are familiar with Bitcoin and have sent and received transactions before, but have never used Lightning, but want to try it out. They also want to use it as their go-to Bitcoin payments application, and appreciate some of the social payment, and they also appreciate some of the social payment features. I'm not sure if we exactly got into all of that part, but in the sprint questions where we were thinking about, are we going to make power users unhappy with the design decisions that are being targeted towards newbie users? This is still an important question for us to come up with, even though we've just been focusing on these prototypes. At some point, we're going to have to test, do some user testing and user interview sessions with this persona or these people in the community, right? Is it possible to design something for power users and newbie users, right? Is it able, how are we going to solve this dichotomy of users' needs, right? And how can this one is a thing. And how might we distinguish or communicate between the Blixt open source wallet and the LSP services? This was also something that we came up with. And I think one way that we're also distinguishing it is that we're calling it the Dunder LSP service. So just in the name, we're creating some kind of distinction. All right, so then we got all this design research put together, and we did a bunch of Crazy 8 sketches, some beautiful sketches Stephen did there as well. And we just like merged those into some kind of storyboard, right? This is kind of mashup of everyone's work, and this is what we had here for our YouTube audience, or Bitcoin TV is better. Use Bitcoin TV. So here we have, this welcome screen with some educational content during onboarding. Then we had some kind of like a direction where we kind of like wanted to drop the person into the application kind of like immediately. So, without having to sign up or like go through any kind of like arduous process. Besides the education part, which I assume at some point could be skipped. But the thing about it is like there's this background syncing that's happening, right? Syncing blockchain data, for example. And then we have the Dunder sorry guys. Then we have the Dunder LSP modal, and the screen in which the payment needs to get made. At that point, you're able to also like one of the functionalities that you should be able to like switch to use your own node. This is like one of these advanced user options, or configure the channel opening session settings, which is the autopilot. And then at that point, after the payment is made, which is this payment request. Once this payment request is made, then boom, we get our channel opening, and then you're ready to use the application. So, okay, thanks for taking the time to do this quick rundown. I just wanted to set context again. Now, who would like to be the first person to present?
I can present.
Millie, let's go.
Yeah. All right. Should I? Yeah, I'll share my screen. All right. Okay. So, total disclaimer, like it's not finished, and also I took a lot of inspiration from what Stephen has done previously in some comments that Christophe has made on Stephen's prototype. So the main question I would say that I focused on was really breaking down the flows for the newbie user versus the power user. I focus mainly on the newbie user because I'm a newbie, and the power user, I felt it would be like a complete other discussion to have what the features were putting forward. So we're here. Once they download the app, create a new wallet, blah blah blah, and then it follows that Blixt needs a minute to sync. And it tells the user that, meanwhile, let's get to know your level of experience with Lightning and learn a little bit more about Blixt. Then it asks what kind of Lightning user they are. Either it's their first time, either they use Lightning a few times, or either they use Lightning regularly and they understand how payment channels work. So if it's the first time trying Lightning, then they will click looking. It's my first time trying Lightning, looking to learn. And then we confirm again, like it's your first time. And we go into some Lightning 101 basic concept to understand. And meanwhile, the Blixt is thinking. So Lightning 101 explain Lightning is a network of nodes connected by payment channels. Then payment channels enable two people to pay another back and forth as many times as they like, almost instantly. Sorry. And then it says also you don't need to open a payment channel with everybody to send or receive payment. And then you mentioned you need to open a channel to a good node in the network, but don't worry, Blixt will show you how to open a channel automatically. And just like mentioning them, just so you know how it works, these nodes speak to each other and they will find the route to transact your payment. And also mentioning that there's a fee in order to use the Lightning network, and kind of breaking down this myth that Lightning is always cheaper than on-chain, but really reinforcing the idea that it's instantly though. And then it falls into a little like summary of what they've seen before, so it's sort of fresh in their brain. And then by that time, Blixt would have been synced. If it's not synced at that time, it will run the little like wheel to tell them that it's still syncing if someone just looks really, really quickly. And then if Blixt is sync, let's connect you to the Lightning network by opening a payment channel, and they get started. And then this is just a little snippet of what are the payment channel best practices, because I've seen like on the Blixt chat that people didn't know what the best practices are, since the state of Lightning is not totally there where we want it to be. I feel like people should know like what makes a good payment channel, so it's easier for them to use it. So we want to make you aware of payment channels best practices before opening one. And this information tells about payment channel best practices. Of course, it can be like probably shortened. It's just like I was throwing ideas like there. So there are fees to route your payment. So they understand that if you lose, in parentheses, some sats, it might be because of the fees and channel reserve type of stuff. And then they explain the fee depend on the root paths that the payment takes and the fee rate set by those nodes. And then it gives a little tip how to avoid high fees, but also mentioning that don't worry, Blixt will do that for you. But again, I'm not sure, Empus, if you're mentioning the fees, I'm having a memory blank right here. And then tell them you need a minimum of sats to open a channel and make sure that amount is enough for your daily transaction. Yeah, because, and you just explained to them, if you open just a channel with $10, you're not going to be able to make daily transactions that are sort of higher than this. There's a way to, this is one limit, and mentioning to them that this is one of the limitations of Lightning. But for now, just keep in mind, like, open a channel that is big enough for what you're intending to use. And also telling them don't open multiple small channels, better to open a few bigger ones. And also when opening a channel, just be patient, it takes some time. And then something about channel reserve, because I've seen some people getting confused of stats not getting back to them or something like that. But my understanding there wasn't precise enough for me to be able to write something about it. And then also mentioning them, when you close a channel, your funds will be on your own chain balance, accessible in the menu, and giving them a screenshot of that. And then backing up your channel is good practice, just to recover settled funds in case of partial loss. In mentioning that you can do it this way, and just sort of a little explanation of where they can refer to it, a short summary of all that. And also reassuring them, like, if you're afraid to forget, just refer to the user guide of the app, so they sort of reassured that they don't need to remember all this information, but at least they have, like, in the fresh memory what they need to do. And then we tell them to, let's open a channel, and then enable automatic payment channel creation, and that will be like under Dunder, telling them, like, you need to send at least that many sats. However, we do suggest opening with an amount that is sufficient for your daily transaction. And then we have here at the below, just for expert, if they want to open a channel manually. And then we mention send this much sats to this address, and then reiterating, like, send like a bigger amount, like enough for your daily transaction. Then user sends sats to this QR code. Your channel is opening. Also, it mentioned there that how much time it will take, but also if they get stuck, because I've seen like a lot of people getting stuck, either consider restarting the app or your phone. I felt like there was a lot of issues that were solved just by doing that. Maybe it's not the best practice, like John, you mentioned like earlier example with banking, but just explain to them there's a time neutral sync issues at this time. And then they fall into the lightning balance, and then lightning balance, and still the channel is opening with the little like root, and if it gets stuck, mentioning to restart. Now that the channel is open, just little snippets of what Blixt is about. So, and what this entails when they use Blixt. So Blixt is powerful BTC Lightning node in your pocket. And mentioning this is really important. It needs to be in sync to be able to send and or receive payments. If it's been a while you've used Blixt, make sure it's synced by restarting the app. Then second, the balance on your main screen is a Lightning balance only. To see your on-chain balance, go on the menu and show the direction. And then also Blixt is non-custodial. By meaning non-custodial, you need to make sure you know how to store and protect your word seed. It could even like refer to something in the app. And then telling them that Blixt is still in development. So Blixt is a 1% team. So if you face bug issue, be sure to let the developer know, and could have a link to the Telegram chat. And then if you have questions, refer to the user guide and Telegram chat, and then they fall to their screen. I know it's onboarding that is extensively long, especially like for a new user, but I'm sure we can cut some things. And if, for example, it's a user that views Lightning a few times and understands the general concept of payment channel, then I don't give this intro about Lightning, but I fall automatically on the payment channel best practices. This is the same info as I presented above. And then they open a channel like right away here, and it's the same information. And at the end, when their channels is opening, still the same information regarding the special feature of Blixt. Regarding the power user, I didn't do that flow. I was thinking, like, if they use Lightning regularly, I would just go straight to the Blixt features that are interesting for the power user, and so that I keep this in mind. Maybe it will be worth to say payment channel best practices, but if someone is such an expert, I mean, they probably know more than this introduction that was given. So yeah, that's it. That's the work that I've done.
That's fantastic work, Millie.
Thank you.
Precious would like to speak. Oh, maybe Precious. Precious, would you like to say something, or was it a hand up, or was it a
No,
clap?
that was a mistake.
Okay, no worries. All right. Yeah, this is some tremendous work, Millie. I really like the details in the actual content and stuff. So since we are going to be a little slim on time, I'm just gonna say maybe we do some of the conversations and stuff async, or like commenting and stuff,
All right.
or doing like the voting session, and we move on to the next person's presentation.
Yeah, it works.
All right, who's up next? Raj,
I guess,
Stephen?
I guess I can go next, or if Raj wants to go, that's fine.
No, go, Steven. We can have Raj later. Whoever volunteers. You volunteer right now, right away.
Let me just dig up this here prototype. Yeah, that looks like a prototype. All right, let me share this. All right, so this is my prototype right here, and I will actually paste this link in the chat for anyone who doesn't have it. Yeah, so I kind of started off by starting a new file and just kind of copying the storyboard over from the FigJam thing we did, and then I copied over some assets from the Wallet UI kit and started messing around with that. So basically, they open the app for the first time, and they get this screen right here. So assuming that they're creating a new wallet, so comes up with kind of an onboarding flow. Just gives them a brief idea that, you know, Blixt helps them get connected to the Lightning Network so they can send payments fast and cheap. Explains that it's meant to be used as a Lightning wallet specifically. You know, a lot of the discussions that you know, we have around the design guide involve trying to kind of obscure Lightning, but one thing specifically with the kind of user that Hampus is trying to target, that we kind of arrived at the end of the other sprint, was this idea of someone who already holds Bitcoin and is, you know, a little bit more of a, not necessarily a Lightning user, but they're you know, they're not new to Bitcoin. So this user, you know, perhaps for this user, it's not a good idea to obscure Lightning for the kind of people that Hampus is trying to reach. So meant to explain that this wallet is a Lightning first wallet. Explains that it's self-custodial and that you have this responsibility to get your keys. And so then you hit next, it starts up, and kind of one of the first things that has to happen is it has to sync block filters. So just wanted to, you know, make it super clear and in your face that it is still syncing. I see some people left some comments, and I actually didn't notice this before, so let me check. Oh yeah, how about letting some users browse some more info during this time? Yeah, that would be cool. You could put a link or something like that here in this text. Yeah, progress indicator, Bosch is saying that would be cool. Instead of just the spinny wheel, we should have something that indicates, you know, the percent or, you know, whatever, just so that it's not a infinite spinning wheel. Users can go ahead and fund their wallet before the sync finishes. That way, yeah, I actually disagree with that. I know technically, on a technical level, the user can fund their wallet, but I actually personally don't like that, so I didn't include that aspect in the design. I think it creates a situation if you try to fund a wallet before filters are synced, you sometimes don't have a way of knowing that the transaction has gone through or what the status of it is. So in my opinion, a better user experience is where you actually lock it down and don't let them, you know, start funding, unless I'm wrong on that and there's a way that you can provide them some kind of assurance that the payment's gone through before the filters sync. So yeah, moving forward, it syncs. This could be really quick, really slow, just depending on the internet connection, what situation the user's in. Then it gets synced, and it's like boom, ready to go. So we get our pleasing little check mark. The get started button becomes unlocked. And then kind of the main target of that storyboard is that we just wanted to get them their first channel and kind of funnel them into getting their first channel through Dunder LSP. So the idea is that if, we're kind of guiding them into this workflow of getting their first channel from Dundle, but they also have the option of connecting their own node. Kind of leave this one like more of a secondary option below. Shouldn't stand out as much as this one. So the kind of power user that already runs their own node, will probably be on the lookout for this kind of option. But the average Bitcoiner user might just click the big yellow button. What does Christoph have to say here? One, the alternate option to manually open channels. Yeah, I guess that would be, but with Blixt, there's actually an option to connect to your own node. So that's one of the options with Blixt. You can actually, apparently that's something that a lot of people are using is they're opening their own channels, but there, certainly could be, you could reword this button to be something like, I want to open my channels manually or something like that. Because I guess at this point, it doesn't really matter if the user is going to open a channel with their own node or open a channel with Ellen Big or somebody like that. So that's a fair point. The text on this button could be reworded to something else. So they tap the vendor LSP screen, they're given this payment request, and they need to, as described on the previous screen, they need to kind of fund their channel by sending Bitcoin to this address. We got our unified BIP21 QR code here. Glad to see that. This is not an actual BIP21 QR code. This is the stock one that was included in the UI kit, but whatever, you can use our imagination. Let's see what Bosch has to say here. Could just be payment request. I felt this was a clickable things for a few seconds when looking at this frame. I'm not sure what he means. I'm not sure if he's talking about the QR code or the text there, but perhaps there's a way to improve that some more. But yeah, so the user, they fund it with their existing Bitcoin stack. So that's kind of this right here. They have to go have some interaction with their other Bitcoin wallet. So I'm not going to picture that there. But as soon as, the funding goes through on Blixt wallet, it comes up with a notification, says, hey, your channel's opening, woohoo. This could take 10 minutes to an hour, kind of depending on what's up. And so, if the user is cool with that, they know what's up, then they can click that button and just, takes them back to the home screen, and you see this little channel opening indicator. If they want to learn more about why they have to wait, they might wonder why they have to wait an hour for it to open. They can click this button and get some kind of, educational info, probably similar to the kinds of stuff that Millie had in her flows. But otherwise they would just go back here, and then, once the channel finishes opening, it's like, boom, Thunder LSP channel opened, you're good to go. So that's what I got. It was just kind of, I was mainly just trying to express these sketches here in higher fidelity. So yeah, that's what I got. Thank you for the emojis, everyone.
Fantastic work. And let's go through Raj's one, and then we'll start talking about these things. Yeah, we're on the half an hour mark.
Cool.
I'm kind of rushing, guys. An hour is not really a lot of time to go through these, but Raj, let's go. Ready? Oh no. Yeah.
You might need to rejoin the call, Raj. That worked for Pavel earlier, but
yeah, just
we can click your file and share it if you don't think you can get your mute working or your audio working.
Well, it'll be difficult to explain his rationale, I think.
I agree.
So
we could at least share our screen and show it off, but only he can explain the rationale.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. It looks like he's just dropped, so maybe he's going to rejoin and see if he can get the audio running.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. Got some very interesting elements on Raj's designs here.
All right, welcome back, Raj. Oh, he says still not able to unmute in the chat.
And I think Raj is just teasing us now because I see progress bars and I see a lot of cool elements, and I'm very curious. Maybe try a different browser.
Well, it sounds like he's not able to unmute himself.
Yeah.
Hampus says maybe the browser is blocking the mic.
Yes, sometimes that's the case. Yeah. Well, I guess Firefox sometimes works. All right, so I guess in the meantime, while we wait for Raj, maybe we can start discussing some of Millie's and Stephen's work. Does anyone have any questions to those two designers about what they've done, or why they've done what they've done?
Yes, I do, but I think that will be a general one for everyone, probably. So
No, go ahead.
It's most regarding it's probably my fault as well. It's most likely my fault regarding the Dunder LSP, because the Dunder LSP is only about like Lightning payments. It's not about Bitcoin on-chain payments, and I guess that distinction needs to be made. Like it's.
That sucks.
Yeah, I think we could take that afterwards. But I have some ideas on, and especially now with the unification QR code movement, I think we should try to make some kind of unified QR code thing. Because I'll try to explain what I'm thinking. The Autopilot is used for on-chain receivement. Like if you receive on-chain, then the Autopilot will open a channel for you. With Dunder, it's when you get an Lightning payment towards you, but you don't have any channel already opened. So then the Dunder LSP will open a channel on the fly. So that's it is a distinction between that and the Autopilot. But I think it's really possible to make one QR code that covers both, and that goes hand in hand with the new unification QR code movement that is starting to get traction. So yeah, I just wanted to put that one out.
So let me repeat that in my own words and make sure I understand. So it sounds like if I go back to, say, here where I have this QR code and just ignore maybe the unified thing for the sake of simplicity. If I send myself receive a Lightning payment via here, that channel will automatically be opened via Dunder LSP. But if I send an on-chain payment to this wallet and the attempts of forming my first channel, does that not go through Dunder LSP?
No, it does not.
Okay.
Maybe this is actually just a technical thing that really doesn't matter for the user. But no, it's not going to. It's going to the Dunder Lightning node, but it's not using like the Dunder service in any way. It's just what's happening is that the LND will just open a channel. Like there's no magic happening really.
So I get it. So it's using it. It's the Autopilot is using the on-chain funding to open its first channel with the Dunder Lightning node, but it's not actually using the LSP service functionality.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make so everyone knows about that. I'm not sure it really matters in the end, really, but it's a thing that we should know about at least.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing here, it's I think about this quite often as well. It's like, what is the definition of a LSP, right? So I personally have a very loose definition, and I think like making that distinct. Well, this is just like my personal preference. It's like making the distinction between like the LSP being like inbound liquidity, but it's not this other like channel opening service. I think that just adds like another layer of complexity for someone who's new to the space, right? It's like I thought the LSP is like providing me my like all my services. So that's why I personally have like a more loose definition of it. Like I would throw even like additional add-on services that a LSP can have would be like watchtowers, etc., etc., or like lightning address, etc. So I would like the core is liquidity, but then there's like these additional services for the LSP, and then when you communicate it and advertise it, it seems a bit more kind of like easier to communicate.
Can I just reply to that? I actually fully agree with you, Jans. I think that the LSP term should be pretty broad. I'm just telling you what Thunder is, not what an LSP is. And I agree that I think LSP covers a lot of things. But what I'm saying is that when we design the screens, that needs to be taken into consideration. As an example, then right now Thunder requires you to set like an amount that you like the invoice amount, basically, that has to be set beforehand. But that is not that's not in design, so to say. I'm not talking about how we present an LSP concept for the user. I think that for the user, Autopilot and Thunder LSP, Lightning and invoices are like, it doesn't need to be a distinction there, really. It's just that when we design, we need to think about that.
Okay, so so from what I'm understanding, we're going to need to redo these 2 steps here, where it proceeds with Thunder and then showing the QR code straight away.
Yeah, we might need to redesign some parts, but I have some tricks up on my sleeve here. So anyway, so I think we should use L and URL Pay, because then we can actually, like in the L and URL Pay protocol, the payer basically sets the amount that so, but we can take that afterwards if we should go ahead with the final.
All right. It seems like there could be a situation here where maybe combining them into like one step in this phase isn't a good idea, because if you think about what we're asking the user to do, so if we want them to fund via Thunder LSP, they're going to send a Lightning payment to themselves, and it can be a small amount, I think, because it can be a smaller Lightning payment. I think the amount says it needs to be at least $9 basically worth of sats, but they can do a smaller amount and they'll have more liquidity in the channel that Thunder creates with them. Whereas if they're using Autopilot, we actually want them to send a larger amount of money, because they're going to want to have enough outbound liquidity in that channel. So I guess, yeah, it does make sense. We are asking the user to specifically do 2 very distinct things. So we probably want to think of this step here, like if they are in fact proceeding with Thunder LSP, then this should probably be like a Lightning only thing. Whereas, there could be another button. Yeah, there could just be a use Autopilot button down here too. And then it would say, okay, send, like we would want to rethink both of these screens here. Instead of this screen being about Thunder LSP, it would give them a choice of, sending on-chain funds, sending Lightning, connecting, or, that kind of stuff. But yeah, so it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. We don't want to bog the user down with too many technical details, but at the same time, we are asking them to do 2 distinctly different things here.
Yeah.
And just for clarity, those 2 distinct things is 1, opening a channel, and 2, getting inbound liquidity.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I think for the current, with the current technology that we have and the infrastructure in Blixt, I think that we might, we'll have to make 2 different options, or in some way. So we make a difference between Autopilot and Thunder LSP. But how that is presented, I don't know. That could be. We don't need to say Autopilot even. I'm not sure. But yeah. like maybe in the future we'll have some kind of swap thing that I know that, for example, Phoenix are doing, but we don't have that right now. So I suppose we'll need to play with the tools that we have.
I guess and opening a channel through Lightning, like with a Lightning payment, this is something that's gonna be a bit weird, right?
Yeah, potentially, yes.
Yeah. I see. Okay. So, okay. So I guess what really, like, the change in the design still is, because, okay, so the change in the design is that there is no, the person needs to be able to, they still need to open a channel no matter what. And to open the channel, it needs to be some on-chain amount. And okay, so it needs to be an on-chain amount. So then they could start spending. Then they're gonna hit a point in which they need to receive some funds, and unless they have pushed them to the other side of the channel, they wouldn't be able to have any incoming liquidity, pretty much.
One of the things I would like to do with the new onboarding is actually to present Thunder for the user. Sorry to be a bit, because right now it's just an experimental feature inside Blixt. So I think one of the things to accomplish with the new onboarding is actually to let the user onboard themselves via Lightning, because like we shouldn't enforce on-chain, so to say. But, yeah.
Okay. All right. Unfortunately, Raj is still not able to speak. He checked his permission and he's not able to unmute his mic there.
I've got his stuff up on screen here. If we could talk through it real quick if you want.
Yeah. Do you mind?
Yeah, sure. So, sorry we can't hear you, Raj, but I'll try and kind of narrate your flows as best as I can. And if you want to provide any clarifications in the chat, maybe somebody else could interrupt me and read out if he's saying anything.
Yeah.
So we got kind of a landing screen here. I'm assuming this kind of, shows the logo for a little bit and then kind of loads this stuff. So there'd be some kind of copy explaining the Lightning Network here. So I guess they tap the Get Started button. They get the option to restore their wallet or create a new one. And it looks like Raj is picking up from the restore flow here. So they tap that button. They can enter a seed phrase, or they could restore via Google Drive. So it's cool to see some cloud backup action going there. So, assuming they choose one of these options and hit continue, wallet recovery is in progress. And so we got our little spinner here. And I'm assuming that if they tap more info, it kind of expands out like this, and it shows them the progress of the chain sync. And so it looks like it gives them actually a good bit of detail here. There's this kind of log window down here that looks like they can copy and paste. So I guess that would be probably a handy thing if user wanted to share some info. They ran into a bug or something and wanted to share it with Hampus. So, I guess they've tapped, I guess they've hidden that, and, it's still kind of syncing. Oh, I see. Wallet recovery in progress versus wallet creation in progress. So I think what it is we're seeing kind of, a very similar thing taking place. Just one of them is if the user taps to restore, and the other one is if the user taps to create. But it's pretty similar detail in that they're getting synced up with Neutrino and all that. So then I'm not sure exactly how the user arrives at the screen. It maybe it takes over or something once the chain sync finishes. But regardless, we're here, and got this nice little logo here. In order to start receiving funds, you need to have a payment channel with someone. So they could continue with Dunder, or they could connect to your own node. So yeah, he kind of broke it down in a similar way that I had in mind of just, either channeling them into Dundle or channeling them through like a manual creation flow. So it gives them a payment request here option. So you're supposed to send on-chain funds. So as we've kind of discussed on this call, it looks like what we're really doing if we're sending on-chain funds is we're really asking the user to use the autopilot feature. And so that's something that I think me and Raj both kind of didn't get exactly right in our designs. But so we can just swap out in our mind and just pretend that says autopilot instead. But so the user sends themselves the on-chain funds, and then it looks like they can expand this menu to get to some additional options here, change some of the settings about their channel. So they've sent themselves the fund, and then it gives them kind of a load thing that tells them that their channel is opening. So I assume it would kind of remain in this state until the channel clears with the blockchain, clears 3 to 6 blocks or whatever the standard is with LND. And then the stuff up here looks like the same thing, but it's more of a light mode version of the same flow.
Yeah, I think yeah, thanks for that, Stephen. Raj, I hope that did your work justice. It's unfortunate you weren't able to present it yourself, but really tremendous work there. Is there more, or is just a light and dark mode?
Yeah. The upper row is just the light mode. That's what I was just saying. Gotcha.
Okay, nice. All right, so we got 10 minutes left. All right, so we need to figure out how to resolve this problem with what do you call it? Actually, let me think about it. Is it really a problem? Because someone needs to open a channel. We knew that the channel needs to be opened. And that's the thing that we're trying to do in the first place, right? We're trying to get people to open the channel in the first place, right? So they need to do this on-chain payment. And there are some autopilot settings. I think Raj did a good job at that on the autopilot part. Okay, so we have the autopilot settings there, and that's really, yeah, on the payment request, it's not a Lightning invoice in the BIP21. It's just a Bitcoin address for the on-chain channel open stuff. Then at some point, the user may want to receive some funds, and they're going to be unable to do so. And that's what we need to cater for. Now, that point in which they receive the funds can be as soon as they install the wallet, or it could be after they sent a few payments. We need to figure that part out. So I think if we're able to answer that question in the design, we would fund it with my own. Yeah, I think if we could figure out, like, if the user is coming in and they immediately want to receive, then there are certain things that they need to do. And actually, in talking about that, I think if this persona has never used Lightning before, and they only have on-chain funds, how would they expect it to get the incoming liquidity, right? Like to pay the invoice. So in the end, they still need to open the channel.
Well, it's like you can, like, sometimes you get onboarded by your friends. That could be via Lightning, for example. That's just one way to. But the user might also have on-chain funds, and then it makes sense to send on-chain so that the autopilot kicks in.
Hold on. The autopilot is used specifically for opening channels, right?
Yeah, it's basically just Yeah, exactly. It's sweeping the on-chain funds in the wallet and uses that.
So this QR code with the Bitcoin address, this is always going to be Autopilot. Anytime you pay to a Bitcoin address, this is the Autopilot taking over.
Yes.
Okay. So if that's the case, is it possible to use Blixt without ever depositing any on-chain funds? Is it possible to
Yes,
at all?
use when Thunder will open a channel for you. So then you will then Thunder will make the on-chain transaction.
I see. Okay.
So it's two different ways to get onboarded or get started. So yeah, that's a challenge to let them see that work is being done here with Steven. So yeah, that's right now with what we have. I'm not sure if a unified QR code will work, so we might have to. Because I really do want Thunder SP, the Lightning, getting onboarded by Lightning. I really want that to be a part of the onboarding, because right now, like, users love Thunder, but it's currently being hidden from them in settings via the experiments section. So the plan is to go into production with that and make it available from the get-go.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any other final words? We'll probably have to regroup and try to figure out how we proceed here. But we do have another design challenge here that we are going to have to figure out. But I think there's a lot of other work that's
Yeah, I just have a little question. Because it's so buggy for me right now.
Oh, Millie, you got muted. Oh. Okay. I think everyone's having some okay.
Censorship. Everyone gets muted, yeah.
Someone's UTXs are getting good right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else wants to try to talk? And if you say something we don't like, we'll mute you.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so because just it's so buggy right now, can you write in the wallet improvement chat what you guys just discussed regarding the under LSP? It was really hard for me to understand because it kept like cutting and blah blah blah. So that would be super useful if you don't mind.
Yeah. We'll have to do a summary. We'll have to do a summary of this. Don't worry. We'll have a chat.
Yeah, a
just
summary.
to, like,
Yeah.
iron out some
Thank
of
you.
these details. Yeah.
I've been trying to solve it here. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, I can see you.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me finish typing out the slot to this address, and we'll auto open channel for you. Make sure to send yourself at least, X amount of Bitcoin, and then we'll change this button here, and it'll be like, we'll make that, where is that whole thing? Style outline, no. So there's some way to like make here one thing, we'll just do it like that. We want to like try and get people onto that. Fund it with my own Bitcoin. Okay, so like what I've done here is I've just taken that kind of screen. I've added another option, and maybe there's a way to simplify this even further, but just like, okay, instead of being like, so when they hit get started, instead of it taking them here, we take them something like this, and it's just a general like, hey, let's get you connected to the Lightning Network. And this is kind of the path we want them to go down. It's the big button that, catches your eye's attention. If you say proceed with Dunder LSP, it takes you here. It tells you what Dunder LSP is. It tells you that you're about to send Lightning to yourself, a small amount, and that there's a fee. So it kind of sets the stage for what Dunder LSP is. You say, okay, proceed with Dunder LSP. Or you say, no, go back. I don't want that. It takes you back there. But if you proceed, then it gives you a Lightning invoice. You fund it that way. If you chose this way, fund it with my own Bitcoin, then it would take you to the Autopilot screen. It tells you very briefly what Autopilot is. And then they have the option, do I want to do this or do I want to go back? And then it gives you an on-chain address. And then if they say, make this, just being like, I want to manage this myself, then it takes them to some crazy power user nonsense for people who want to, construct their own payment channels and yada, yada, yada. But I mean, it seems like we could just think of Autopilot and Dunder LSP as distinct options and send people down different paths because of that. Now, that's just the first idea that popped into my head, but doesn't mean it's the best idea.
I think it makes sense. I think I did that, but it's worth to emphasize that if they go down the Autopilot path, they need to make sure that they send the amount of sats they want to use, because you don't want to have small channels, and that problem disappears, of course, with Dunder, because then a big channel will be open for the user.
Yeah, exactly. This is me being sarcastic, but the idea is you would basically tell them to make sure you send a minimum amount. Right, yeah. You would have to. This would be well-written educational copy that would tell them exactly what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I didn't actually read that one because it's
and I think Magashi has a comment.
But yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
Magashi.
Yeah, I was just literally thinking out loud and just not thinking out loud. Geez, I'm a bit tired. I was just literally thinking to myself, just like a learning point that I was just realized is, we created obviously those sketches with the crazy eights, and then we moved from those sketches into the design phase. I was just wondering if maybe the designs would have been more, how could you say, synchronized if maybe there was one additional step. And I think that might have been the what's the word I'm looking for? Flow diagrams. Just like as a more like, I know we did the flow diagrams, but I feel like maybe that could have been done just a bit more, I don't know, like specific in between. And then the designs might have been more synchronized. Does that make sense, kind of?
The mappings stage?
Yeah, the mappings. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if we did after we did the crazy eights, if we did another mapping that was a bit more like defined, then it would have been, I think, maybe a little bit more synchronized. Just a learning point. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah. The goal is to get alignment, and slightly annoying, but I think some of the stuff that Stephen showed out there, and a lot of this is to do with communication, right? How do we communicate it to the users? How do we communicate to one another? So we obviously have a lot of work to do there still, regarding the definition of the LSP, and also trying to help people figure out these two, this like kind of liquidity problem. And I think it'll be worth going through Millie's work on the onboarding kind of like tutorial stuff. I think that's why this kind of stuff is going to be super important within the application for us to be able to educate the users on this liquidity, on the payment channels, and even the features like Autopilot and their purpose and stuff like that. So Millie, I don't know if there's some details of what we discussed today you could roll back into your, because I'm seeing you as kind of like the educational user manual kind of person now, since you've done such an amazing work there. Would it be possible that you could maybe work with Hampus to get some of this definition of the liquidity problem, and more on the distinction between autopilot and, or whether it's distinction or whether Hampa, this is for you, to figure out like what is the definition of the LSP itself, all right?
Yeah, that's a question.
Like, how do you want to package this up? Perhaps you and Millie could work on that, and I guess, you know, like Raj has some like really great stuff with the thinking process and things that are happening kind of like in the background there. And Stephen, maybe you can continue working on the visualization of the LSP and autopilot stuff. What do you think about like dividing the work like this?
Yeah, able to help on whatever part, honestly, and I can have like a perspective of someone that's quite new, so I can tell if I understand or not.
Yeah, good. All right, so we're 5 minutes over now. I think okay, so far we have kind of like been in our own corners, kind of like designing things. Yeah, we've kind of been in our own corners, kind of designing things. I think this is time that we're you know, start.
Maybe if Christoph is still here, maybe he can.
Is on.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. All right. So I was saying, so we've been kind of working in our own different silos for the time being, and some great work came out of that. But I think now we have to try to figure out how we are going to kind of collaborate a little better now to kind of unify all these works that we've done. We have like 3 distinct parts of the application that we've kind of identified. One being onboarding, one being the syncing, and the other one being the LSP autopilot liquidity part. So onboarding / education, right? And in the 3 designs, they I believe each of them tackle one part of this like very, very well. So we would want to try to like merge the best of all of them into one kind of artboard. I think it's also worth us working on a single Figma file moving forward. And I think I've invited most of you onto like this main board. So perhaps we could start doing it on there. Would that be okay for everyone?
Where's the main board?
The main Figma that Pav sent out a few weeks ago.
Are you talking about the Fig Jam?
No, not the Fig Jam. The Figma. Let me get
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure which one you're talking about, but we can figure out about that asynchronously.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, but like really fantastic work, guys. I think we're almost there. And Hampus, do you want to say any last words about like you know, how you feel about this process and what you're seeing so far?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone first and foremost. I think this is amazing. I'm really happy to get this one going. Yeah, and I think that we're on the right track, basically. I think all the different like concerns and issues and points that needs to be taken up has been taken up in the onboarding itself, like the LSP and education and also the power user stuff. So I think we just need to streamline it and make one thing out of these three things.
All right. As Stephen likes unification, that's exactly what we're going to be doing, unifying everything, all of the things. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. And yeah, I guess we could stop the recording, and if anyone wants to hang out still, that's also cool.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thank you.